I'm going to invite our two advisors for the CoMuseum, our international advisors, Tom Fleming, who's over here, and Adam Rozan, who must be online, to just give a touch of closing remarks, since we finally met. So please, okay. This is Tom Fleming, he's our advisor. We're saying that because it's been 3 years now that we talk, and we had never met in person, so we're very happy to have him here.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a real honour. It's a real honour to be on the advisory committee. I will be so brief. I know you've heard lots of people say that today. I promise you I will be really brief. And then we can hear from Adam, who's there and there, as well, who will also be brief. I think there's a strange irony, actually, just listening to all of the conversations today, is that there's this tension between a sense of the new, but also a sense that museums have been doing all of this before. And there's this kind of quote around how nothing is new except that which has been forgotten. And museums are vectors of memory. And the practice that is inherent in museums has always been enhancing people's well-being and their health. And yet, here we are talking about it as if it's something new. And we know it isn't. But we need to be pragmatic. And we need to seize the moment, because we know that the policy landscape has shifted, society has shifted, and museums as social technologies in society are also shifting. So there's an opportunity, and that's what we've been talking about, based on brilliant practice. Just a few things that I think are relevant to the conversation and the next conversation, based on what I've heard today. The first is that museums are somehow struggling between this new radical reality where they are at the heart of the conversation, and they're needing to build, and they are being invited to build new types of collaboration and to be radical in those collaborations. A tension between that and the kind of sunk costs of being a museum over a period of time, the building, the skill sets, the governance, the investment models. So there's a challenge in terms of adapting and building for the future. A second point, I think, which is really interesting, is the notion of the museum as this kind of provider of instrumental outcomes. And there used to be a lot of pushback around this. The impact of museums, the foundational role of museums as part of a cultural system that delivers outcomes or even outputs for our health, our well-being, our cohesion, our sense of community, all of these things. That tension between that and the intrinsic spiritual value of culture, of the arts, including the role of the artist. And I think that the role of the artist has it's come through, it's filtered through today, but we need to have more of that. And we need to recognise that the artists are part of an alliance with the museums, and the museums are enablers, facilitators of artistic practice that can deliver impact, but also is valuable unto itself. So we're caught in a bind between the reality of museums at the heart of this kind of ecosystem and the increasing pressure from policymakers, from funders, from partners for the museums to not just deliver impact but also to demonstrate impact. But I think there are ways out of this. One is that there need to be, and there are lots of, new types of partnership with museums as equal partners and as hubs for a new way of working which delivers positive outcomes to the heart of society. The second is the need for evidence. And we've heard lots of points about evaluation, about data, and that sort of thing. That evidence needs to be co-created with the partners, not just by the museum sector, so that everybody owns the data and can be champions for the next iteration of partnership and investment. And I think a final point in all of this is that we don't just need projects and eternal pilots, we also need systems. We need networks, we need new models that connect not just museums to one another, we have that already, but also museums to other parts of society. So new health and culture systems and new types of infrastructure that reflect that reality. So that's all for the future. But the present this is hugely exciting, there's so much energy, there's so much innovation, and we need to find ways to leverage that, and also to tell more people about it, and to develop the future collaboratively. So thank you very much. I probably wasn't as brief as I said I was going to be, but I was hopefully still quite brief. Adam's going to be super brief, I know. So Adam, over to you. What do you think based on your perspective?
I think you nailed it, and I love that word that you used, which is tension. I think this is a special day, and these talks inspire me, and I hope that you sitting in the Benaki today, while you have your coffees, while you're talking to one another, feel as inspired as I do, as hopeful as I feel right now. Also at the sheer audacity of the projects we heard about, and the speakers, and the conviction. I know personally I want to follow up with several of the speakers today because I think there's a way to collaborate and learn more. So the thing that I always think about is I might not be the director of my organization. You might not be the director of your organization. You might have some role within your organization, or maybe you are the director. What is it you can do, right, today? What is it you can do tomorrow? What is it that you and others within your organization or the groups that you are volunteering with could build that coalition to get some of this work happening? And how do you start it? And so I would just encourage everyone to think about that. What's the thing that you can do tomorrow at your organization, in your community, where you are, so that your museum remains important, relevant, and a part of the solution for what the audience and your communities need. And it's an honor to join you from afar, and I wish you a great continued masterclasses tomorrow and on to the next day. So thank you so much for having me join you, and go CoMuseum.
Go CoMuseum, I like that. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, Tom. I think we're going to close now. I want to thank once again all our speakers for being with us, our advisory committee, our audience online and on site, my partners, Maria Papayan and Eleni Alexaki, who's actually doing interpretation right now. She can even do that. Katerina Kuzioudi, the project manager, Katerina Galani and Dina Diora. I'm giving names because you do need to realize this is a huge production line behind what's happening today. From the US Embassy also Coralia Pitikaki, Alexandros Nafiotis and Eleni Xanthopoulou. I want to thank the production, Yannis Papageorgopoulos and his team at Avitron, our graphic designers, Eleni and Maria Spanou, our interpreters, Grigoris Labou and Eleni Papasteriou and Eleni Alexaki. The sign-up language interpreters from Hands Up, Rosalia Funda, Giorgos Stathis, Eleni Tsartsitalidi, Manuela Maiopoulou. Our volunteers, and I'm going to give you their names, they all come from Marlene Mouliou's Department of Museum Studies, Foutini Gotsi, Maria Γλυκού, Iliana Martinez Μακρύ, Maria Mavroidi, Βίκη Χαρά Παπά, Παναγιώτης Χρανιώτης, Ναυσικά Ραφαέλα Σταμούλη, Μαρία Λεωνόρα Σορότου, Αργυρότα Μπασούλη, Φωτεινή Ψηλού και όλους μου τους συναδέλφους από το Μουσείο Μπενάκη, που επίσης σιγανά χωρίς να φαίνονται καλύπτουν πάντα τις ανάγκες του συνεδρίου, το Γιώργο τη Μαρία Θρουβάλα, την Ίγκε Νικολάου, τη Λιάννα Τσομπάνογλου, Λέτα Μέντι, Αθηνά Ισαΐα, Βασιλεία Καραΐσκου, το φωτογράφο μας Ανδρέα Σχοινά. Κρύβεται. Τους φύλακες, γυρίσω στα ελληνικά, τους φύλακες που είναι πάντα εδώ πέρα στο Μουσείο Μπενάκη, το φυλακτικό προσωπικό και το καθαριστικό προσωπικό και τον Τάκη Χρυσοφυλέα από το Σοφιστήριο. Ευχαριστούμε πάλι τις αιγίδες μας, το ΙΚΟΜ που είναι ακόμα εδώ, το Υπουργείο Πολιτισμού, το Δήμο Αθηναίων και το Δήμο Θεσσαλονίκης και τους χορηγούς μας, our sponsors, Microsoft, Elas, Kokomat, Energean, the British Embassy, the Royal Norwegian Embassy, and the Netherlands Institute of Athens. Let's hope for an even bigger, what can I say, CoMuseum next year. Definitely a personal one. And thank you again all for being here. Let's go down for a drink now.
Can we thank Sophia as well? Yeah?
Yes, thank you.